So I drove in. The first thing I did was broke both front axle shafts, the drive shaft, and I was done for the day in like 5 minutes that morning. My name is Matt Bonnette from Orangeburg, South Carolina. Part owner of Bull Swamp Fabrication, builder, driver, owner of SlimeTime Mega. When I was young in the neighborhood, we always had, we had buddies and friends that had go-karts, and, I wanted one, I couldn't afford one. So I'd cut grass, and instead of getting paid to cut grass, I'd always look in the backyard or behind somebody's shed, and every now and then I'd find an old go-kart, and I'd say, hey, instead of paying me, I just had that old go-kart, and I'd take it home, and I'd pull this piece of junk into my parents' shed, and my dad was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to build me a go-kart. With what? I don't know. I'll figure it out. So when I was from middle school to high school, that's how I kept cash in my pocket. I would get an old go-kart and fix it up, and then I'd sell it and get another one and fix it up and sell it. And that was just I was always a hands person. I really didn't do the books much. So I did everything just learning it as I went. So that just moved forward into other stuff and life in general, and went to the first mud race in Ridgeville, South Carolina, down around Charleston. Went with a group of buddies, just got hooked. Then we ended up over in Florence at the old fairgrounds over there. Same group of buddies. Got the mud bog itch, I guess you want to call it. Brought home a old Toyota truck and said I was going to build me a mud bogger. So we did that, and I built a little small block Chevrolet motor and put a set of Chevrolet axles under this Toyota with a set of 38s. And the bad thing was we had 38s that I had on my everyday driver, and I would pull it to the track on a borrowed trailer because I didn't have the money for a trailer. I had a truck before I had a trailer. And we would just swap tires from my everyday pickup over this Toyota pickup that I built to run down the track at Nice's in Thunder Valley in the compact class back in, that had to be 2002 or 3, somewhere around there. And that's kind of where we got started. And I did that for probably 3 or 4 races. And then I didn't like it. So I took it home. And of course, I didn't have a lift. I didn't have a jack. I didn't have really anything that I needed to build a truck. So I worked at a company and was fortunate enough to bring home a skid steer from work one day, and we picked it up with it, and we yanked everything out from under it. And I wanted to build a S10. So we jacked it up on boards and started putting axles under it and changing everything over, and it was a complete disaster, in all honesty, because I didn't have really a clue what I was doing. And me and some buddies, just hanging out in the backyard, drinking beer, having a good time, and playing with trucks in the dirt. So that's kind of where the S10 came from. Had it in that truck, and it went probably across 4 or 5 friends' houses over the years before I even started racing it or trying to mud bog it or whatever we did. And we first place we ever went to was Mid-State Mud Bog up in Batesburg, and I went like 20 feet, and it wouldn't run. It would run, but it was spitting and popping and, just crap. So we went like 20 foot, and I took it back home, and I let it sit there for a while. Then my cousin over in Pine Hill decides to have what we called the Pine Hill Pandemonium back in the day. And I said, man, I got to get this thing ready for that. So we got it ready. And this place was just my cousin's house, and back in the woods on the back 40, it was just mud hole. And we just went in and had fun. And of course, I drove in. The first thing I did was broke both front axle shafts, the drive shaft, and I was done for the day in like 5 minutes that morning. So, throughout the whole day, another buddy, Wesley Smoke, said, I got a set of 2.5 tons. I didn't even really know what a 2.5 ton was at that time. So he's like, yeah, we can put them under there. So we built the first truck on 2.5 tons and a set of 44-inch groundhogs, cut the rims out, put them in the 15-inch wheel. And that's kind of where I got my start in the mega truck world, was through my cousin Josh and Wesley. And we just kind of went from there, and self-taught, didn't know nothing, kind of went with it. One thing led to another. I think it sat in Wesley's shop for over a year, and I was trying to be there every weekend working on it. I was living in Columbia at the time, and Wesley was down here in Orangeburg, and we just kind of pushed forward, and sometimes they weren't there and I was there, and it went on and on. So then I think I took it one place on the 44s, and that didn't work out. So I got me a big set of 48 3120s, spreader tires. I got a set of those, and we made the rims for it, put them on there, and I went back to Mid-State again. I went like another 40 foot. I was kind of just, I don't know, upset about that, because that didn't work out. So then, made a phone call, got some help on, some 18.4 26s from my dad. And they were living in Virginia, and he didn't understand at all why I was wanting to do this or what I was, but he knew that it was something that I was enjoying. And so he bought me a used set of 18.4 26 R2, like racing cane tires, that we put on that truck originally. And, it was coilovers off an F-250 with buckets 6 inches tall and a little subframe, and a small block 350 with a turbo 350 transmission, a 205 transfer case back into a big military 2.5 ton transfer case. And it wasn't fast. It was just something we were just basically pond bogging with, and we'd go to these other places just to compete. It was just having fun, but it piqued my interest, and kept me going. So then after we were doing this, it's me and Josh with his truck and Wesley with his truck. And then, here come these other two guys, and just Russell Twitty and Mitchell Bodiford. And they've got King Cobra, and Twitty had his brown Blazer at the time, and 14.9s on 1 ton trucks. And then we were here with 2.5 ton trucks, and it just kind of started progressing back and forth. We went to Mid-State, and they didn't have a class for us. He said, you're really an unlimited truck, so you got to run with the unlimited guys. And we were outgunned in that thing, but we didn't care. It was just, we just want to go out there and have fun, see who can go the furthest. So that escalated, and one guy puts a bigger motor, the next guy does this, the next guy does this, and then it just kind of escalated, in my opinion, between that group over the years. And what that was probably, that had to be 2008, 9, somewhere around there, 10 maybe. Then move forward a little bit, and we get to hanging out at some other friends' houses, and we got this group together, which was the Good Old Boys Racing. And man, you talking about a fun group. They were fun to be around. We had a good time. They all loved to race. And just, it was just a fun time in my learning process and what we got going on now. It was probably 20 of us, and everybody, it was like 10 trucks involved. We were working late nights after work, weekends just to go race on Saturdays. I drove by the shop we're sitting in now one evening, and there was a old gooseneck trailer sitting on, and I still had no trailer at this time either. So there was this old gooseneck trailer sitting over in the bushes. I rode by, and there was a for sale sign on the gate. And I pulled in, and this gentleman was in the shop, and I walked in the shop, and he said, I said, you want to sell that old gooseneck in the bushes? He said, no, I really don't want to sell that gooseneck, but I'll sell you the whole damn place. I said, well, I really don't think I can do that, but I'd love to. And he had some equipment in here, and He was an older gentleman, about ready to retire. He was just kind of piddling, he calls it in here. So then, of course, that got my wheels turning. I was working a job in Columbia. Really didn't feel like I was getting anywhere, and just kind of going through the motions. And so a month probably went by, and I made a phone call to my dad, who was living in Virginia still. And I said, I think I want to open me a business. He said, boy, you done lost your mind. He said, where's it at? So I told him where we were at. I said, look, I just need a mindset of which way I need to go and who I need to talk to or whatever. He said, don't you do nothing. He said, we'll be down in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about it. So that couple of weeks went by, and we sat down and talked, rode by the shop, and set up a meeting with Mr. Danny. And now we're here, and we've been here since September 2010. So we made all that work, and we blew the motor up in the original SlimeTime truck, and we built a new motor for it, a little 388 small block. And I finally put a roll cage in it, which you needed from the gate, but we didn't have one in there. I put a roll cage in it. Then we started running with Ricky B. Wilson with 4x4 Cross, and he had a little series where you'd run and qualify, and you'd end up doing a finale at Twitty's when Twitty's was in Wagner. And we destroyed that truck in one night. I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 events with Ricky's, and just destroyed that truck. And my dad was like, all right, what you going to do now? I'm like, I'm going to build me a 2 chassis. He was like, what do you know about building a 2 chassis? Nothing. I don't have a clue. He said, well, we done bought the shop, and the concept with the shop was to build some trucks if we could, work on farmers' equipment, just a basic job shop type shop, and build trucks if we could. So I built the first 2 chassis, and I'm pretty sure that truck is in Texas now, still running. I think it's had some modifications over the years. Ran it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years maybe. And then my good buddy Dave Renfro puts it out there. Let's put it on Racing Junk and see if we can sell it. I'm like, man, why would we want to do that? We just got this thing figured out. It's working good. He's like, man, yeah, but you can sell it. You can build a new one. Like, man, I don't want to build another truck. I said, I want to build something for somebody else. I don't want to build me another personal one. So Dave kind of twisted my arm a little bit. So we ended up selling it to a guy in Florida, and I think he ran a little bit and ended up selling to a guy in Texas. So we built the next chassis and improved on what we had learned off of that one. And we built a couple trucks in between, and just kind of kept progressing and learning every build that we did. And we're on the, I want to say, probably 10th build now in the shop. And every time we build one, we learn something different. I try to tweak something or change something. And as you can see in this video right here, we're building a brand new truck, getting ready for this upcoming season with Southern Mud Outlaws going into 2020, trying to get a little lower and just get better, like everybody does in racing. So we talk about where we are now as far as in the sport, in the business, and everything wrapped into one. And for the people that don't know kind of the story, along with building trucks and starting this shop, we decided to take over a track in Nesa, South Carolina called Thunder Valley Motorplex. And we ended up taking it over, managing it for almost 7 years. And people looked at me like I was crazy. What are you doing? Even the owner, Mr. Steve Fogel, when I went to him and talked about it, he said, boy, he said, you need to think long and hard about this. I said, Mr. Steve, I got it figured out. He said, you ain't got it figured out. He said, I ain't got it figured out. He said, you think long and hard before you can do what you're going to do. Gave me 90 days to get everything together. And on that 90th day when I called him, he said, you need to keep thinking, and kind of trying to talk me out of it. But I didn't. We made a deal happen. And for almost 7 years we raced there, and it was, probably the most fun that I've had. Of course, you have your hiccups and your problems and your aggravation with stuff, but that's just business and life in general. You just figure out how to find the positive of it and move forward to the next race. So then 7th year comes, and, you know, the trucks have gotten absolutely fast, and some of that's our fault as promoters of how we set classes up and what guys could do in their class and how they could build their trucks. And the mega trucks have just gotten absolutely insane. And the track really, got outgrown by the trucks. And it got unsafe. And so we either had to spend a ton of money to slow the trucks down and infrastructure and that kind of thing. And we just deemed it right at that point, it was best if we shut down and maybe just took a break for a little bit. But in taking that break, we were able to meet a gentleman at the South Carolina Motorplex, Mr. Jeff Begans, and he has given us the opportunity to basically do what we did at Thunder Valley on his property over there in a very safer manner. The way the track's set up, we've helped him lay it out, helped him set the infrastructure in it. So that's where we're going to be at now on the race, on the promoting side of it. We'll still be a driver in the truck. Man, I love this sport. I love every piece about it. He said, you know, from the drivers, their families, the kids that come through the gate. It's just, the sport in general is just a really bunch of good old boy guys that, you know, just get after it and just want to build something from scratch that say, hey man, I did this. And whether it's built or bought, it's built by somebody. It doesn't matter whether it's bought or built, because at the end of the day, it's built by somebody. So, fortunate enough, we're able to have some sponsors in what we do. Slime tire products, Fast Orange, hand cleaners, Power Master starters, Willwood brakes, Spray 9, Permatex. So we're fortunate to be able to do that. And I'll tell you right now, all that stemmed from a conversation my dad had at a farm show in Fresno, California. He walked by a booth, slime booth, and the name of the truck was already SlimeTime. It's a lime green STN truck at that time. And he pulls his phone up and he says, hey, you need to sponsor this truck to the slime guy. And there was a picture of Forrest Griffin and their Baja truck on the banner behind them. And, it kind of got the ball rolling. And, so we worked on that a couple years as far as product sponsorship stuff. And then we started doing some shows with them at different venues. And of course that let me introduce into some of their sister companies as far as Spray 9 and Fast Orange and Permatex and Black Magic and all these other sister companies. And we've just kind of grown relationships over the years. And now we get help with product and help us get up and down the road, to go to all these events that we do. So it's a lot of legwork to be able to do as much racing we're doing in the series that we're running with, and travel and hotel expense, and just, you know, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is, you know, it just, you got to work at it, and right now it's 7 days a week. And we don't stop. So we keep pushing and keep moving forward, and all we can do is keep that drive moving forward, that momentum going forward, because if we stop, then something else might stop. And right now we ain't got time to stop. We gotta keep pushing, as they say. So, but I'm fortunate to be able to do what I do, and I'm thankful for it. A lot of good people that I lean on a lot of times when I get stressed and I need to talk to and voice my opinion and say my feelings. And then times I wanted to push the old truck back in the bushes and say, hey, quit it, I'm done, and give up. But then we have a conversation and kind of lights my candle back a little again. And that goes across the board with everything, promoting, the driving, the building, the whole 9 yards. So, but I'm thankful for those friends and those family that keep me pushing and keep me striving to be better in this and be better as a person.